and earn a lot of votes. She should be given the time and space to decide for herself about the future of her campaign, being very respectful, easing her into it. But again, this is something that if she cares about issues, if she cares about policy over accruing power, it's very clear that she should drop out. Tim O'Brien, who served as senior advisor to the Bloomberg campaign, said the New York City mayor plans to put his resources in the broadest way possible behind Joe Biden's campaign. Investigative reporter Alex Koch argued in a series of tweets that Bloomberg's decision to support Biden only increases the importance of Warren's next steps. He says it's Bernie versus Biden. It's the establishment versus the left. That is it. New York Magazine Sarah Jones wrote Monday that because Biden and the Democratic establishment are rapidly coalescing, it is time for Warren to lead the presidential race and support Sanders for the Democratic nomination. For Warren supporters, this will be difficult to accept, and for good reason. The senator has spoken movingly over working-class politics and introduced a slate of generous policies that represent long-overdue corrections to corporate power. In debate, she can be fearsome. She's the first person to publicly humiliate Michael Bloomberg in years. But without a realistic path of nomination, Jones added, it would be catastrophic error in judgment for Warren to remain in the race until the convention. So, I think that's exactly right. According to a national Quinnipiac poll released last month, 33% of Warren supporters say Sanders is their second choice for president. Number Jones argued could rise if Warren's backed Sanders with a full-throated endorsement, and maybe, as Crystal Ball says, something more.
It's a good case. It's one they should have been making all along. It is coming to a debate stage and a television near you. It's a good start. But it's still not enough, because the area where there is the most opportunity to potentially pick up votes and the greatest weakness right now is with suburban voters. So look, I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, but you need a game-changing shift, a media narrative, and an ability to grab a hold of that media narrative and change the fundamental underlying calculus. And the best idea I can come up with is at this point to sit down with Elizabeth Warren and offer her the VP slot on the ticket. Why? Why bring on a candidate who just lost her home state, got third in her home state, who doesn't have a whole lot of delegates to offer, somewhere around 50 right now is what she's collected. She has been, number one, loved by the media, and number two, she's been very popular with suburban voters, with white college-educated voters. So if you bring Liz Warren into the fold, if you have not just her endorsement, I don't think that's enough at this point, and frankly, I don't think she'd give it at this point. But if you actually offered her a slot on the ticket, perhaps you could start to win back those suburban voters, especially if Biden does what Biden always does and reminds us all once again why he was so fundamentally weak as a candidate to.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. I think it's not absolutely right, but I really don't like the idea of bringing someone who's really hurt Bernie Sanders' campaign so much on the. But I mean, again, I see how it makes sense, and I do. As much as I really kind of don't want to, I have a lot of respect for Liz, so there is that as well. But this is Sarah Jones here, saying if she can make a case for Sanders, she'll help build a progressive front against the moneyed and well-organized moderate force. The time to do so is now. The obstacle is in the way of a more progressive future for Americans isn't Sanders, but the coalition forming around Biden. If Warren wants a righteous fight, that is it. Author and activist Naomi Klein, who actively supports Sanders in the campaign, expanded the call for a united progressive front by saying that not only Warren, but anyone with reach and power who remains willing to fight for bold and transformative change should join hands at this critical moment. So after President Donald Trump this Wednesday morning fired off a tweet seemingly intended to sow further division between Sanders and Warren, comedian and Medicare for All activist Rob Delaney responded that as with most ideas this perpetrating wound of a person extrudes, it would be a good idea to do the exact opposite. So Rob Delaney adding on to this, I hope Sanders and Warren understand this and unite. Pretty much Donald Trump trying to sow division, but yeah. All right, so Up next, we're talking about Medicare for all, folks. And in every Super Tuesday state with exit polls, majority of Democratic voters support limiting private health care insurance. And we're not going to go too much into this, but I think it's very, very important to file this in your back pocket the next time you're talking to someone, and pretty much say that every state with an exit poll so far, Medicare for all is overwhelmingly popular with Americans. We've seen it happen. There's been poll after poll, not only with Bernie beating Trump, but there has been a lot of times where we've seen Medicare for all being increasingly popular for years now. Years! Like, it's very, very possible. And that perfectly leads right into our next topic, because health insurance industry stocks surged Wednesday morning in the wake of former Vice President Joe Biden's strong showing in the Democratic presidential primary Super Tuesday contest, opening up 600 points after traders appeared to bet on the cancer resurgence would box out any chance of single-payer universal health care. What more do you need to know? Tweeted journalist Jack Merkinson of the Market Spike. Sanders has made Medicare for all a centerpiece of his campaign. The healthcare industry has poured millions in advising against Sanders after the Vermont Senator won primaries in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. The industry has long seen Biden as their white knight, says Dr. Adam Gaffney, the president of Physicians for a National Healthcare Program, and an outspoken Medicare for all advocate. Excuse me. Biden on Tuesday won at least 9 of the 14 states up for grabs. Now we know 10 to Sanders 4. And the Dow surges more than 500 points, led by healthcare stocks in the wake of Joe Biden's Super Tuesday wins. And again, it's what we continue to see: people profiting off of sickness. Just want to play this clip here from Yahoo Finance.
So we did have former Vice President Joe Biden picking up 9 of 14 states. Now, of course, it is the delegate count and the delegate race that ultimately does matter. But right now we have both Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, who had previously been the front runner, being awarded more than 300 delegates. These are still being awarded as we have some of these results trickling in. But what this is really showing now for the markets is that some of the more moderate candidates like Joe Biden are picking up support, and that could be a good sign for stocks going forward.
Yeah, it's a good sign for stocks, but not for the American people. I think that's very, very incredibly important. Business commentators also made the connection between Sanders' victories in early primary states, particularly Nevada markets, poor performance last week. Billionaire Steve Forbes remarked that the week-long drop was not only about fears of the coronavirus. Like, when the markets are in trouble, people, the people must rise to defend them. Like that's really what we're seeing here. In the end, it's all you need to know. Are you on the side of the healthcare insurance companies? Are you on the side of the people in this country? It's that simple. All right, we're back Friday for New Uncultured. We'll see you then.